Hello and welcome back to the We Are Birmingham Blue preview, third episode of this week. This week, join me is Jeff Hayward to help us preview Blues v Bournemouth this Saturday. Jeff, how are you, mate? And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Fine, thank you.
Very good. Let's get straight into this. I think there's only one place to start really this week with Bournemouth, and that is the sacking of Jason Tindall. I'll let you lead the way with this, mate. What's sort of come to that?
Well, the team is sixth, which feels like why are you sacking your manager when you're sixth? However, the squad we've got has been underperforming pretty much since the start of the season. There's only been a handful of games where they've really played to the level that they can play.
Yeah.
And since Christmas, it's been pretty dire. There looks like there's something. It's beyond tactics. It's about the players not really motivated or having that self-belief or believing in the coach. So 4 defeats on the spin, and those defeats against Luton should have beaten Luton. We were a little bit unlucky, and there was an iffy sending off that got revoked after the game. So we played 10 men for most of the game. But then subsequent to that, Derby away was woeful. Reading, a game that we had to turn up, we didn't turn up and we were woeful. And then compounded by Sheffield Wednesday, 23rd in the league. They should have had all the kicks up the backside they needed. Woeful. So 4 defeats on the spin, and it's nosediving out of the playoffs, nosediving out of automatic promotion, which is where, on balance, that squad, it's still with the Premier League squad, quality-wise, so should be doing better.
No, absolutely. I remember the game in December I think it was December when we played you last time, and you were probably, for majority of that game, the best team I've seen play us this season in terms of going forward, attacking wise. Something that, like you said, the squad you've got there is a Premier League squad, at the very least, you'd hope anyway. So I can absolutely see why a club like Bournemouth, with those expectations and that playing squad, would make the decision. I'm trying to ask you about Jonathan Woodgate coming in, because he sort of came in as a coach this week, the day before, was it, that Tyndall got sacked? So what's the thinking behind that?
So, Jonathan Woodgate, appointed on Monday, steps up to caretaker manager on Wednesday. Graham Jones is the guy he's replacing, who's gone up to Newcastle. Graham had only been in the job 3 months. Graham is a Newcastle man, wanted to go and be closer to his family up there, apparently, and have the opportunity to work with Newcastle. So he went. Woodgate comes in. Woodgate now caretaker manager, Woodgate picking the team, Woodgate on the bench leading the motivational speech that the boys need tomorrow. So going to be an interesting couple of weeks at Bournemouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this season and previous seasons, Woodgate maybe not doing great as a manager himself. So hopefully, in his first game with you guys, you can get some sort of something out of the players, like you said, from your point of view. From a Blues point of view, maybe that could be something which we look at and say you might not get that usual new manager bounce, because, there's still uncertainty. I think today there was talk of John Terry, there's been talk of Frank Lampard, lots of different candidates, even Eddie Howe at some point, were in the frame. So maybe we could sort of use that and say, listen, this guy's not going to be coach full-time as a manager for the foreseeable future. Maybe go there with some confidence to get a result out of that. Do you think Woodgate is the man to sort of get something out of these players? No,
I don't. I think it needs somebody. You mentioned a few names there. Somebody with some experience, some clout, somebody that they'll actually respect. I think that was part of the issue with Jason, is that stepping up from assistant to manager never easy, and I think he struggled because of all the egos in that dressing room.
Spot on. I think talking about the playing squad, like we said, you've already got some great players in there, and I'm sure that, like I said, a lot of egos in there as well. But just wanted to touch on some of the business you've done in January, from the outside looking in. We've got Shane Long coming in on loan. Obviously, Jack Wilshere and Ben Pearson were both done before deadline day. What sort of experience do you think they're going to bring to the squad and helping you in the second half of the season? But also the ones that are going out as well, like Dan Gosling and Josh King leaving the squad. What effects that going to have?
So Josh King has been wanting to leave since about a year. I think he's been touted as going to 18 of the 20 Premier League clubs in the last 12 months. So finally him going was probably a good thing. He's a bit of a hangover from last season. Should have gone in the summer, didn't. And maybe that's been a factor that he's been like a sort of bit of a bad smell hanging around. Of the others, Gosling didn't want to go. He's a team man, really good player, and I certainly didn't want him to go to Watford because I think he pops up with important goals.
Yeah, strange one.
He scored a couple of blinding goals earlier this season. against Coventry, I think, at St Andrews.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he should have had more game time this season. Hasn't. Jack Wilshere, obvious quality, got a point to prove, and did well for us when he was on loan a few seasons ago. Great. Shane Long, lots of energy, selfless running, team man, just what we need, because we haven't been running enough or showing any desire or energy at all. And Pearson is the really interesting one. I think he could be the Harry Arter replacement that we've been looking for. Somebody to drive that midfield forward.
Yeah.
Certainly, the people that he's been brought in potentially to replace Billing and Lerma have been under par this season, and arguably might be a couple of players who think they're too good to play at the club anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that. And I think, like you said about Shane Long coming in, it might have come at a good time for you guys, particularly because I think reading ahead of the game tomorrow, you've potentially got a couple of key injuries with Dominic Solanke and Junior Stanislas potentially being out. I mean, what sort of effect is them two being out of the squad going to have on you guys tomorrow on Saturday when we play you? And can Shane Long really do the job of Dominic Solanke?
Yeah, I think he might go with a two up front, and if he does, then the player to lead the line is probably Sam Surridge, who hasn't had enough opportunities this season. Solanke's been ahead of him all the time, and King, when King was available, has been ahead of him. But Surridge has got hunger, he's got appetite, he's got talent. Won the penalty for us the other night within like 15 minutes of being on the pitch. That is Sam Surridge, who puts it in, and I think him and Long could be a real handful for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pearson, I think, will come straight into that midfield, and Junior is going to be a big miss. David Brooks has been off form pretty much all season. On his day, he can be brilliant, but that's the problem. On their day, a lot of these players can be great. We just haven't had enough days.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, talking about the last game we played, David Brooks looked like one of the best players in the league, if not the best. He's in form. He tore us to pieces. But from looking at tomorrow's game, then he's not so much one to look out for in terms of form. You were expecting really the guys to be looking out for at the top end of the pitch, potentially with Sam Surridge and Shane Long potentially.
Yeah, and Dan Juma's coming back from fitness. He's got, he's quality on his day. I'm not sure if he played in that Birmingham game. He was injured for. I think he did. I
think he did play, and I think he played on the left side and again tore us to pieces. Him and Brooks had a great day against us.
Yeah, so Dan Juma will be difficult to play against, but also we've got issues at the back. The goals that we've been conceding, particularly last 5 games. Sloppy goals. We're vulnerable from set plays. Teams know how to play against us. They figured us out, and I'm sure Birmingham will park the bus, low block, hit us on the break, or hit us from set plays. And Begovic has had a couple of dicey moments the last couple of games. Mepham was at fault for the first Sheffield Wednesday goal. If you watch that goal, you'll think, my goodness me, Sunday league defending.
Yeah,
and that is not sustainable. And if we go a goal behind, you've got a chance.
Yeah, I think from a Blues perspective, that's definitely encouraging going into the game the weekend. And I think a lot of Blues fans on Tuesday night, myself being one of them, were very frustrated about the way that we did play against Wickham. Offensively, we had a lot of the ball going forward and created a couple of good chances. Probably should have won the game, but Artur Karanka really failed to make attacking substitutions and go for it. But potentially, if we can take advantage of those vulnerabilities that Bournemouth are currently having at the back, we might be able to sneak something. And I know from set pieces, we haven't scored many this season from open play, but set pieces is something we're particularly strong on. So let's particularly strong on in relative to how well we've been playing offensively. So let's hope maybe we can get something from that from a Blues point of view. And going into that, talking about Blues, what's the perception of Blues from a Bournemouth point of view? Is there anything, like you said, about park the bus, low block? I think a lot of Blues fans would say that's been our style this season. Is that something that you've seen from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, when we played you at St Andrews, I thought we were comfortably better. It was one of our good games, one of our good days. And I think you're probably a little under par. You strike me as lower mid-table this season, unfortunately. And I don't think you really score enough goals.
No.
That's important in the Championship. It's tough to keep clean sheets in this division. Um, and yeah, I think having a low block is fine, but you've got to also have the goal threat when you do have the ball. And
Exactly.
certainly that's what we faced against Reading. You know, they were excellent in the way they took the game to us on the counter attack. And some of the other sides as well have got one or two really good players to do that. Bannon was excellent for Sheffield Wednesday the other night, and I'm not sure that Birmingham were really that strong.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if we score first, that I think will be, you know, a key thing, key moment in the game, how you respond to that and whether we can go on and play to our potential, you know, with the confidence surging through us. But if you score first or keep it 0-0 right until the second half, you know, you've got a chance of picking up points.
I agree with that. I think one of the things we've found this season is potentially if we do score first, then we sit even further back and look to defend even more. I mean, the win we've got in the last 4 games, coming into this, our form is slightly better than yours, with 1 win, a couple of draws and a couple of losses. And in that 1 win against Middlesbrough we did have, we scored relatively early in the game, and then we were second half, we went to a 5 at the back and sort of looked to defend and see out the 1-0 victory. And against a team like Bournemouth, giving them the ball, looking from an outsider into that Bournemouth squad, definitely something very dangerous, and you don't want to be doing that. So on that then, Jeff, let's just get a score prediction from you, mate, for Saturday. How do you think Bournemouth going to get on against Blues?
I think we'll edge to a victory. I think we'll probably edge to a 1-0.
1-0? Okay, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Blues. I'm going to go for an upturn in our fortunes, potentially get us going again this season. I don't know what that's based on at all. I've just got a feeling we might get something out of the game this weekend and take advantage of that poor form that Bournemouth had. Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and speak to us today.
No worries.
And
no worries. Yeah.
All the best for tomorrow.
Best of luck, but not too much, eh?
Brilliant. So that's been Jeff from the Back of the Net Bournemouth podcast. Thanks for joining us on We Are Birmingham TV for another Blue preview. If you haven't already, give the We Are Birmingham podcast from this week a listen. It's a cracker after the 0-0 draw with Wycombe on Tuesday night. And until next time, keep right on.